Yeah, it's Drake May, but again, I'll say this by I like Drake May, but I think that there are certainly more weaknesses than some people make out at times. Um, he is he is just scratching the surface of his potential. I would say there's a lot more for Drake May that can still be exposed that just wasn't at college, and I can see how an NFL team is going to be able to do that, which is why he's ranked above others. Hits all the size measurables: 6'4", 223. Exceptional mechanics, as a tight release, natural feel for timing and rhythm. Super consistent with those mechanics as well, and they continue out of the pocket. There are some reckless throws out of the pocket, which we'll come to. Fiery, tight release. He's able to generate velocity with his throws. Just when everything is clean and he can put the ball exactly in the right place, this works. He shows intelligent, ingrained field vision, which allows him to be creative as a thrower. Throws with unbelievable anticipation to lead receivers open, which will allow them to get yards after the catch. Uh, when everything's kept clean, and I'll keep saying that because when everything's clean, you're like, yeah, this is a high pick, but it's not always clean for him. And that's where I think that some of the deficiencies come in. But he's got all the arm strength that's needed. He can throw with different speeds, different angles, different velocities. He's got great touch. Everything that you need to see from an NFL arm, I've seen with Drake May, and I have no questions that he's able to do all those things at the NFL level. Because it's decisive. It can be accurate when things are clean. He's nimble as an athlete as well, although I don't love his rushing ability, but I think he can be he does more than enough in that area. And he doesn't necessarily force extra yardage as a runner as well, which isn't what we just spoke about with Jaden Daniels before, that he knows when to get out of bounds. And he can be creative when the play breaks down. He's got the traits at the moment. I'm not sure we have seen this is a number one overall pick worthy prospect on tape, but I've seen bits of tape when all pieced together make me think that this can be a really good NFL quarterback. Now, he's been let down by scheme at North Carolina, as many quarterbacks before him have. We're trying not to helmet scout. North Carolina quarterbacks have rarely worked in the NFL, but that doesn't mean that it won't for Drake May. To take that out of it completely, it's a silly way to evaluate things, because we said that with Ohio State, and then CJ Stroud goes and does what he does. So you can't helmet scout in that way. But it's not the helmet, it's the scheme, and the fact he had absolutely no one around him. Like he was better in 2022 than he was in 2023 because he had better playmakers in 2022, Josh Downs and the like. But there wasn't anyone in 2023. Now, if you listen or watching this, most people won't be able to name another player on the Tar Heels offense in 2023 because it was a really difficult offense to watch. And I imagine that means it was a really difficult offense to play in. So we've got to give him some credit. He was his production dropped, but between everything, I think I've seen enough. But there are certainly some elements of his game which give me pause for thought. But I can see why an NFL team will like him.
Drake May's also number two for me, as Brian alluded to. I think of all the guys, he has the biggest gap between his floor and his ceiling
Yeah.
that I've evaluated. It can be really wide. Oh, you kind of touched on it. If you were to package up Drake May into a YouTube highlights reel, people watch that, and people do that when they're not so into the draft. They go, let's go on YouTube, find some of this guy my team's going to draft, and watch Drake May. They'll be going, yes, we have scored if we draft Drake May, because some of his plays are unbelievable, because he is absolutely fearless. He will just launch the ball into some unbelievably tight windows and make wonderful splash plays. But that's why he's got 16 interceptions, and most of them were down to being daft decisions of just, gung ho. I think that it's difficult to say that he tried to play hero ball because he almost had to. He was the offense. He really didn't have some other options at times. So I think it is a bit hard to evaluate, particularly his 2023 season. He's got unquestionable arm talent. He's got the right size, makeup. He looks like an NFL quarterback. He's sometimes, yeah, it's, as I say, it's difficult to kind of, but he's got an inconsistent kind of throw in motion, which I think makes him inconsistent with his accuracy. I think if he was to clean up that and become more consistent with his motion, that would definitely help. He moves well in the pocket, but I don't think he's wonderfully great outside the pocket. He's not the best free runner you'll ever see in the world. He can throw off platforms, but I think there's a lot kind of left on there that I think he possibly has the talent to be a better runner than he has shown.
He's measured as a runner, which I kind of like. I think
Yeah,
I don't think he's the best athlete, but knowing when, um, and knowing and situational awareness to get out of bounds or get down and slide, which others don't in this class. I think I think he is better than he's maybe given credit for, but it's not great, but it doesn't need to be.
no, I know we've seen worse. Put it that way.
Yeah,
But
definitely. More than good enough.
he's also he's a bit less experienced than some of the guys that are below him as well. So there is that to it as well. He's only been a 2 year starter. When you look at
Yeah.
some of the other guys that are coming up behind him, they have played a lot more football. So he is a bit more. I think he's a bit more malleable than some of these other guys that if you get the right system with him, and maybe he's somebody who might benefit from not being out there on day one.
Mm.
Teams will all put him out on day one because that's what they do. It doesn't work all the time. Stop doing it. I'm not an expert, but even I know that. I think that there's loads to like about Drake May. There's loads of potential, and I think if you want Drake May to be a quarterback, you're buying into that potential and what you can make out of him. But he has a bit more about him than the guys that have come behind him. For me, I think that there's more to like there and more to come. And yeah, for me, he's number 2, but I'm still, even at a number 2, got question marks.
Yeah, absolutely apprehensive. I was saying that you can package together highlights that make him look unbelievable. I can also, you've got 2 or 3 plays a game where you think, wow, this is the guy, unbelievable, that's perfect. But there's also 2 or 3 plays a game where you just think, what the hell are you doing? In
I was
polite
guilty of that.
terms.
Our very early evaluation of Drake May, I was like, oh, this is the boy. He's an absolute kiddie. Start watching some of him, and then, okay, just
It's a roller
slam that
coaster.
brakes on a little bit.
There's certainly high variance on tape. And a lot of throws you just think you just have to make, especially short ones. And when he's throwing out on the run and he then maybe is throwing across his body or he's having to open up completely, he's missing 5-yard passes, and you just think all of a sudden he's either the best or he's the worst. You know what I mean? He needs to improve his consistency, the consistency of his accuracy, anticipation, and his footwork. What he does show is excellent. There just needs to be more of it, and it needs to become more consistent, because you can't throw or underthrow or miss open receivers within 5 yards, and his accuracy is wildly up and down at times. And the variety of misses in some games where he shows extreme inconsistencies is ridiculous, really. It's under his accuracy on the run and his accuracy under pressure dips more than it maybe should, and that will need to improve at the NFL, because the pressure to success rate, that won't work at the NFL. That needs to come better. But when you have better receivers, that will be better as well. And I think he makes some throws far more difficult than they needed to be with some sloppy footwork. And he tends to, not tends to, it means he does it all the time, but sometimes he crosses his legs over each other instead of having a wide base. His one foot goes in
Yeah.
front of the other, And that means he has to reset, and then the timing's off again, and you've wasted that motion, you've wasted that time, and that window just closes, and that window is already short in the NFL. The decision making can be sporadic as well, but sporadic means that it's been really good as well. So he's shown that he can do it, and as we were saying with some of the other guys before, if you've shown that you can do it, it means that you can do it. We just need to see more of it, and then it's up to an NFL team to unlock it. But if an NFL team can unlock it, Drake Maye is going to be a very, very good quarterback, but he's not there yet.
And I'm no way saying that he's going to be that kind of player at all, because it's lofty comparisons, but it has a bit of a feel about what Justin Herbert was like, in that teams didn't have that he's going to be a superstar kind of guy, but they managed to unlock it with him, because he played a totally different style of football at Oregon, and he wasn't asked to do all the stuff that he's done. That's not me saying Drake Maye is Justin Herbert. It's totally wrong. But that kind of similarity of the kind of situation wasn't the best at college, but they've got loads of untapped potential. Let's actually use what they're really good at. That's kind of what comes to my mind with Drake Maye.
Josh Allen as well is another one who's in that mold, where the completion percentage isn't great. You know, it's the 2023 it was 63%, 2022 it was 66%. It's one of those where he's flashed everything. Can you put it together? And if you've got a consistent coaching staff that you trust to be able to mold Drake Maye in the right way, it absolutely pays off. But I think again, it goes with all guys, doesn't it? I guess, but you can see where if he goes to a team where they've just got consistency within management and within coaching, and you can give them time that we're going to give him an offensive coordinator that's going to be sacked within a year, then it's just not going to work. But that rarely works for any quarterback doing that. But if you can give him consistency that will allow him to be more consistent, then yeah, he has the tools and the play. There's not a lot more to add there, but yeah, he's a really good prospect. Is the best way, I suppose, of summing this up. He's a really good prospect who can develop into a really good player.